Welcome to Book Talk. With me today is author James Thibeault. He is the author of Deacon's Folly and Michael's Black Dress. Thanks for joining us today,
Thank you
James.
for having me.
Yeah, it's great that you could come in today. So I understand your very first book you wrote was Deacon's Folly, which we have here.
Yep, that came out in 2016. I tried to make it a short story, and I actually sent it to a publishing company, and they said, we really like this short story, but I think you kind of have to add a little bit more. So then I did another, added another draft, and she's like, it needs to be a little bit longer. So then I did another draft, and then they're like, it needs a little bit longer. And then they all of a sudden switched and said, like, now there's, I don't know, maybe it's too long now.
Oh my
so
gosh.
So then they absolutely rejected it, and I spent like a good month and a half constantly sending stuff. So then it got to the point where it was something that was maybe 5 pages, went to like 20 pages. So then in my head I was like, why don't I just keep expanding this?
Sure.
So I predominantly mostly published short stories at that point, and then I said in my head, you know what, let me just actually try to make a novel for the first time.
Yeah.
And I finished it, and then I sent it to Sartoris Literary in Mississippi, and they loved the story, and I got published on it.
That's great. And yeah, it's definitely not a short story. What do we have here?
Yeah.
300 pages or so?
Yeah, about that. I mean, the font's a little bit bigger than that, so.
Yeah. No, that's great. Tell me a little bit about the story.
So it's a story about a boy named Devin. It's set kind of in the past. I didn't really give an exact time frame, but we would say roughly maybe the 1950s.
Okay.
And it's set in a rural area, maybe I had it as backwoods Cape Cod in the 50s, but I try not to give a hard geographical location because
Sure.
at the end of the day it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It depends, but for my scenario, because I'm kind of character based, it doesn't really matter in my opinion. So Devin lives in the treehouse. And his parents were kind of out of the picture for a really long time. And so no one wants to take him in. There's only one person that will take him in reluctantly. And he's like, you can stay in the treehouse, but you're not staying in my house.
Okay.
And so he's just been living there. He's about 16 now at the start of the book. And it starts out where the whole treehouse is starting to fall apart. And so he's trying to nail all the stuff back together, accidentally nails his hand to the treehouse.
Oh no!
And his guardian, Mr. Audette, is just drunk all the time. And he finds this so funny that he actually gets the whole town together for a barbecue to make fun of this kid while
my
he's
gosh.
nailed to the board.
Oh, poor kid.
And at the same time, a new deacon is coming to this town, and he is just absolutely horrified at how they're treating this kid.
Sure,
They're like, yeah, he's not that bright, but why are you guys so mean? And that's all, and they all hush up, and they all just don't talk about that. And then when he tries to talk to Devin about this, Devin also doesn't know. And so it's the deacon trying to figure out exactly Devin's past, because Devin doesn't really understand. Something happened a while back, and the whole town is just kind of keeping it completely secret. So it's kind of a mystery, kind of suspense on that one, but it's very funny at the same time. It's a whole wave of emotions going on with that.
That sounds really interesting. And I like the kind of historical, not historical, but set in the past a little bit mystery aspect. It's very interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of I've had a lot of my former students read it, and they're like, I think it's going to go this way, and I was completely wrong. And
the best books are like that, right? You can't predict exactly what's going to happen.
And that's actually how I design my books. I'm like, what better way to stump the reader if I don't even know where I'm going to go with this? So as I write, you'll see some authors who will, I forget the guy's name, but some authors will have Post-it boards, and they'll outline their entire thing and organize it. And if they want to do it that way, that's fine. For me, I improvise the first couple chapters, and then just see where it goes from there. That's always been my writing
Yeah.
style. I have like an idea of where I want to go, but if I don't like that, I'm going to change paths, but I don't actually set my plot in stone. And the reason why I like that is I have no idea where it's going. So
Sure.
if I don't know where it's going, then I like how the reader has no idea where it's going either.
Yeah, that gives you a lot more flexibility too.
It does, and I grew up doing a lot of theater and improv, and I always love using my improv skills when I'm writing.
Yeah.
So when I'm kind of in that flow state, I have absolutely no idea even how the chapter is going to end up. At the end of the chapter, I'm like, oh, I kind of like that. Well, let's try doing this now. And sometimes it comes up really badly, but that's why you have drafts.
Exactly.
But it works out really well.
That's awesome. Now, your other book that you've written here, Michael's Black Dress.
Yes,
Now
big departure from the first book.
Very different. Now, this is a really culturally relevant topic, I think.
It is, and that's the reason why I decided to switch gears. Deacon's Folly, great book. I had a blast writing it, but it was relatively kind of safe. Like
Sure.
where I wanted to do something a little bit more topical and something that was a lot more important to me. When I was a teacher, I dealt with a lot of students who were transitioning, and they were transitioning that year.
Oh.
And all of a sudden, they went from being very popular to absolutely just like harassed from their
Really?
decisions. And it really surprised me. And then another thing at the same time is when I was a teacher, I used to love wearing suspenders. And I don't know why. It's just better than belts because I don't have to constantly.
Oh, yeah, exactly. They're not falling down.
Yeah, it's comfortable and everything. People used to wear it all the time, and
it gives you a look, like it's your style.
Exactly. And I just kind of tried it on one day, not thinking people would react, and everybody in the school was constantly making fun of me.
Really?
Yeah, even
Oh
some
my
of the
gosh.
teachers.
What?
And I would have kids run up to me and just like take it as long as possible and snap and run.
Really?
And I was just blown away.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, exactly. And so at the same time, both of those kind of merged together. Where
Yeah.
I'm like, if I'm getting harassed for something as harmless and as nothing as suspenders,
And you're a teacher.
I was like, my God, what is happening to my students when I don't see them
Right.
who are trying to wear something that they're comfortable in? And so in that, those two pieces came together at the same time, and I realized I really need to do a story about this.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of wonderful books about transitioning, but not so much about cross-dressing,
Sure.
which there is a difference. And I wanted to focus a book on somebody who, a straight male who wants to wear women's clothing,
Yeah.
particularly dresses. That's his thing. And there's not a whole lot of material out there, so I really wanted to kind of do a book about that. And I wanted to, the people who've read it were like, this is a perspective that I never really thought about before,
Yeah.
and I'm really glad that I read that. And that's kind of the market that I'm aiming for. Is I want people that don't know much about kind of what it is to cross-dress, and the difference between cross-dressing and drag.
Right.
Michael doesn't do drag; he just wants to wear dresses,
Sure.
and people don't know those differences as well.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the market that I was trying to aim for, and have people just kind of see a different perspective.
And that's really interesting, you having been a teacher and seeing how the kids are reacting to other kids that are transitioning.
Exactly.
It gives you a better perspective, I think,
Yeah,
on
it
maybe what they're dealing with.
Well, yeah, I mean, I saw it in the trenches, and I was
Right.
just very disappointed, especially when some of the schools that I used to teach at were very, very progressive,
Yeah.
and they had all these things. You would say, like, oh, we're very in front of everything, and they were still met with this. So in my head, I'm like, well, what about the schools that are not?
Right.
I highly doubt that some of these kids who really want to wear something that they're more comfortable in just can't.
Yeah.
And that was something I really kind of wanted more people to kind of start realizing.
And I mean, I know with the social media landscape, you really don't know what's going on like outside of school either. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that the kids are talking to each other about that, you don't always have.
Exactly. I mean,
privy to see.
as a teacher, I always saw like a fragment of their lives. And for example, when kids came out to me saying that they were transitioning, I had no idea.
Sure.
And you just don't know because they were keeping it very hidden. They were afraid
Right.
of how people might react. And I just don't want to be in a society where something as just harmless as just identifying as another gender or just wearing something different is you're not, and I kind of always follow this policy where it's like, if you're not hurting yourself and you're not hurting others, then you really shouldn't be bothered by it.
Right, totally.
And I really wanted to kind of stress that in this, where a lot of with the plot with this is Michael comes out to his twin sister that he has been wearing dresses in secret. So it's a senior in high school, and he's finally kind of like, I kind of want to be in public. I've been kind of wearing this stuff like when no one else is around.
Right.
And so they come up with this plan, because they're twins, that both kind of buzz their hair, and they would trade off as one another.
Oh, that's funny.
And it utterly backfires
oh,
because
no.
like it's not the movies.
Sure,
and
right.
It completely
it's real life.
it completely falls apart. And all of a sudden, the entire school realizes that they were trying to manipulate in a weird way. And that's how they feel. They felt manipulated. So now all of a sudden it kind of escalates to almost this hostile environment. It makes it worse. So it's like, well, what does Michael do now? Everybody knows his secret.
Yeah.
And it's him kind of questioning what he should be doing.
Oh, that's very interesting. Now, I know you've done a lot of work with nonprofits. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so also I work with an organization called the Quab and Quills. I actually met the president, Steve Piscatello, about a few years ago, where we were at an author event, and he was like, wouldn't it be great if we just kind of had like almost like a organization or like a guild around the local area, and we kind of just published our own stuff? I was like, yeah, I guess that's cool, and then just didn't even think about it and kind of walked away.
It's in one ear out the other.
And then a couple weeks later, he gives me a call and says, hey, I think I'm actually want to publish like an anthology. Would you want to submit something? I was like, yeah, sure. So then I submit something, and then all of a sudden, a whole bunch of people submit something. So he has like 20 to 25 submissions all of a sudden from people from the Worcester County. And he's like, wow, we can actually publish something.
Right.
So we ended up publishing Times Reservoir, which is that one. I want to say it came out 2017. And then after that, we decided, why don't we just make this official? And we we started a nonprofit organization called the Quab and Quills. And our mission statement is providing writers opportunities.
Yeah.
And so we noticed that, like, nowadays, if you want to get published, you have to maybe do like publishing fees, or you have to do advertisement. We charge none of our submissions at all.
Great.
And you get high quality publishing on that, and you have a chance to get your name out. So it's a great way for anybody who feels like they want to get published, and they're emerging writers, or we have some writers who've been there for we have some submissions from people in their 60s or 70s. And we have it's a huge array spread from everywhere. It's really great. And then what we also do is we get a lot of grants, and we get a lot of donations, and we take a lot of that, and we also give scholarships to high schoolers.
Oh, that's great.
For emerging writers on that one. So
that would be a great way for a high schooler to kind of get into the writing scene.
Exactly, because I know when I was in high school, I really wanted to get published, but no one even kind of tells you how. So then our second edition, which came out in, I want to say probably 2018 or 2019, I forget on that one, it was Mountains and Meditation. That's our follow-up. So a lot of the mistakes or a lot of the things we wanted to do to make it more efficient, we fixed on that one.
Nice.
And that edition is wonderful. It's a lot of great stuff in there. And so then our new edition, called Voices of the Valley, is going to be published around May.
Okay.
So we finished all the submissions.
Yeah.
We're doing kind of the edits right now. So right now we're kind of in the book building phase.
Okay.
And so we're ready on that one. And then we'll probably do a call for submissions probably next summer for our new anthology.
Nice.
So we try to do one a year. And we're growing as a community, and I'm the treasurer on that one. I deal with all the finances and stuff, and we have a pretty decent amount of donations coming in.
That's awesome.
Because a lot of people appreciate the providing these opportunities.
Yeah, it's really tough to get started with something like that without having a group who can help you and lead you through.
Exactly, and it's also a great way. It's a very social thing as well, where we know a lot of the people who submit. They're all from areas. I mean, the Quab and Quills really originates from like Athol and Orange and that area, but we kind of extended it mostly to like Worcester County. But we've even gotten submissions Well, I mean, this one right here, we got some submissions from Seattle.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
I was very surprised when I got that. I'm like, how did you find us?
You're across the country.
Yeah, but it's developing a community where
Right.
we know a lot. Like most of the people who are on the board are also writers as well. So we've had a really fun time kind of doing that, and it's been a great way to, because it's really hard to find writers.
It is, yeah.
And so it's great of kind of meeting the local works and kind of communicating off one another and working off one another. It's been a really fun time, and I'm really happy to see the organization grow. We just got a new board member, Sonia, a couple months ago, so it's been a really great time.
That's awesome. It sounds like it's blowing up.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it gets bigger, and I hope people can check it out.
Yeah.
I hope people can be interested. I mean, if people are interested, please check out these anthologies. They're, all donations, 100% goes back to the organization. I don't see a dime. President doesn't see a dime.
Yeah.
And it all goes towards making these for free. People can submit for free. We're not a vanity publisher, and just trying to get people develop writing credits.
Yeah.
It's a confidence boost, if anything.
definitely.
I mean, before I started publishing books, I had to start out small and get published in like online journals and stuff.
Sure.
But there's something about actually having a book.
Oh, yeah,
and
definitely.
being
It's like
published on
in
that.
your hand.
Yeah, and I can't tell you how many times we've had people first-time submitters, and then they get the book, and they're just like, "Thank you so much. This is really cool feeling."
Yeah.
I mean, even if you're not trying to be like this world-renowned writer, just having your voice out there is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, and knowing that other people are reading it
Yeah.
is special too.
Exactly.
Even if it's not, nationwide, it's still, you've got this thing that somebody can hold and read and look at.
Yeah,
That's
and,
very
and
cool.
we wanted to provide that opportunity for people.
Now, James, tell me, have you always been writing, or is this something you kind of picked up as you got a little older?
I would say that I've always been writing, but I was not good for a really long time.
What takes a lot of practice?
This is true. And I think I finally started to really connect as a writer, I think, when I started teaching.
Okay.
When I actually had to teach grammar, that's when it finally connected. Because I would write, and I was like, God, this is awful. And I couldn't figure out why. And then when I
Sure.
teach grammar, I'm like, oh, commas are nice.
It's good to throw some commas in here.
Commas and word structure. Well, in college, I actually did a lot of playwriting, and I
Okay.
actually produced and written and directed my own plays, and I got all my
nice.
friends together,
Yeah.
and we put on shows that I wrote, and it was a mess, but it was fun.
Yes, as long as you're having fun.
It was we had a blast just making this stuff up
Yeah.
and just kind of being a part of this community. And that's one of the things, like, once again, with Quab and Quills, that was a lot of fun. It's like just having a group of people that like doing the same things.
Yeah, definitely.
And, because you got like bowling club and stuff, but you don't really have much like a writer's club,
You don't find those as easily
Yeah,
as,
it's a lot harder to
the
find.
running club. or-
Yeah. So, I mean, I've always kind of wanted to be a writer for a really long time. And so it's amazing that it's really become a reality the past couple
Yeah.
years. And I hope to continue writing and growing. I'm working on a new novel, but I don't like to tell people much about it until like it's definitely in the final works on that. But I really am still devoting a lot of my time towards developing Quab and Quills some more.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool organization, and I wish more people would be interested in it, especially if people in the Worcester County are interested in writing. And like we'll let people know about the next submissions next summer. Right now, we're not going to take some because we're so busy trying to get the actual book
Oh, of course.
finished.
Yeah, you've got to make a timeline for those things. It gets crazy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Is there a website for Quab and Quills?
Yep. If you go to quabandquills.org, there's a website right there, and it will tell you about what we're doing, what's going on. Also, check out our Quab and Quills Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. Just type in Quab and Quills and on Google, and we're usually the first hit on that one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, great. Is there anything that I didn't touch on that you want to talk about?
Yeah, if you want to follow me on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, just for Twitter it's author Thibeault. For Instagram it's James Thibeault author. It's weird you can't get the same things.
I know. I wish you could just
Yeah.
make it the same across the board, but they've all got their own structure.
It does. And if you just Google my name, honestly, James Thibeault, probably have to like spell it out for the group over here, because we were mentioned before in this interview that my name is it's spelled very awkwardly.
We'll make a nice lower third with it on there so
Yeah.
that you can just write it down.
Exactly. Because Thibeault, Thibeault's very French, and the H is silent. So a lot of people say Thibeault and stuff.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Like when I saw your email, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to ask him how he pronounces his name.
And so it's Thibeault. That E is actually not common in France.
Oh, okay.
A lot of people will spell it Thibault.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether this is true or not. From what I heard growing up, is that when my grandfather was enrolling in schools, they say, "How do you spell your name?" And he says Thibault, and they say, "No, you need an E." And he's like,
That can't be it.
No, it's not an E. And so, but that's where we get the E, because I've met a lot of people who have, Thibault's actually a popular first name.
Really?
Yeah, I was surprised by that.
I'm surprised.
But a lot of people who have the name are just like, why is it spelled like that?
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting when you see different, like, and then you have like Tim Thibeault, it's spelled completely different.
Oh yeah,
and
totally different.
People have it with an X. It's so many different spellings. It's absolutely amazing.
That's funny. My maiden name, which was Heidi, spelled Hiday, I did some genealogy, and like looking at the different ways it got spelled over the years, it was all over the place.
Oh, I know.
So I have no idea what it was originally.
Yeah, I know. And
so weird.
So I don't get too mad when people say my name wrong, because it's like, well, if you look at it, it doesn't make any sense. So
Sure, yeah. I mean, you get as close as you can, right?
So it's not too bad.
Well, James, thank you very much
Thank
for
you so
coming
much
on the
for
show
having me.
today. It was great to
Nice
have
meeting
you.
you as well.
Very nice to have you. Thank you for Book Talk. I'm Nikki McGackie with James Thibeault.